Scarlett Johansson's fight with OpenAI, and an AI app coming to the Mac. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by the MacVoices Slack. Discussions, questions, and answers, and a place to talk tech with your friends. The MacVoices Slack is available to all patrons of MacVoices. Sign up at patreon.com/MacVoices and join in. Jeff, this one's for you, and I want you to explain.
Are you trying to
us.
trigger me? Just, I don't even know what you're going to present, but just so I know how to respond.
No, not exactly trigger you, but I really explain this. That the new Apple Pencil will cast a fake shadow while you're using it.
That's actually super, super cool. Okay, so Chuck, you know how I have commented, like when we did the MacVoices thing about the Wacom One tablet, and I think I talked about it here on MacVoices as well, where with Apple Pencil you only have a single tip on your stylus, but on Wacom tablets, depending on the tablet, you can get other styluses that have different tips. So what Apple's doing here, I think, is actually a really clever way to give you another indication of what type of writing or painting instrument you're using, even though you're still using the same tip. And that little visual cue of seeing the subtle shadow of what type of thing it is, a paintbrush, a pencil, a fountain pen, whatever. I think that is a really, really clever way to do that. And that just feels very Apple.
Oh, it definitely feels. No, Webb will be about right back. He had to drop out. Marty?
Yeah, I knew this was coming up tonight, so I got the Apple Pencil out and tried to find the shadow. It was like, Puxtawny Phil trying to determine if the shadow was seen or not. I had trouble getting it. I was using it in notes and then switched to the eraser, and the shadow turned to what looked like the back end of a pencil eraser. Okay, cool. The idea that the pencil can also show the angle of the shadow will tell you, where you are in terms of I've got depth perception. I don't need a shadow to tell me how far up or down I am on the angle of the thing. Frankly, I wish they just fix Siri. This is cute. This is wonderful.
That's fair.
Please just fix Siri.
Before we go any farther, I want to welcome Webb Bixby for the first official welcome. We mentioned you before, Webb, but this is your real welcome.
I apologize for that. One of my attorneys called me, and he gets paid by the word, so I figured I better take that call. So
you didn't want to pay for the voicemail message? Is that it?
No. So, no. Anyway, so I can tell you that I'm sure you guys have had a stimulating conversation, and I've done absolutely zero preparation for today's show. So let's hit it. So,
I was going to say, what's new about that, Webb?
Perfect.
Nobody does preparation for this show. Come on.
Yeah.
That would eliminate the spontaneity that we've become known for, notorious for, infamous for. I'm not sure which. I don't know. I mean, is it cool? Yes, absolutely. Jeff, to go back to our conversation about the Wacom tablet versus the Apple, an iPad and an Apple Pencil, though, was that really something? I mean, first of all, doesn't the Apple Pencil cast a shadow because it's a physical object? I mean, did we need a virtual shadow?
Well, it's one of those little details that Apple pays attention to. And depending on the lighting in your room, maybe your Apple Pencil is going to cast a shadow. But remember, it's also being lit from the bottom up by the display. So maybe not. So for a lot of people, it's just one of those little subtle things where they can say, wow, look at the attention to detail that Apple is putting into this. But the other part of it, for someone like me that probably on an unhealthy level follows this sort of thing, it's one of those things that I look at and it tells me, okay, Apple really is serious about eating into Wacom's high-end graphics tablet market with the iPad Pro.
Okay.
I think this thing isn't really a shadow. That's just a name for this user interface feature.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like it's probably a good name for it. But just like I have Windows on my Mac, well, they're not really Windows.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And there's lots of other user interface things that are metaphors. So same thing here. I mean, yeah, you have things have shadows, but the shadows don't change to tell you what the current mode of the device is. So it was an old Stephen Wright joke, said he had to get a new shadow because his shadow wasn't doing what he was doing.
It brings me back to the detail that they did years ago with the skeuomorphism, where the calendar suddenly had a leather stitched thing around it, and it just seemed like extra stuff that doesn't necessarily impact the user and the interface.
I haven't used this, but it sounds like it could be awesome. A way to instantly look and see which mode I'm in. That sounds really, really neat.
And Marty, think back. It doesn't matter what Apple has wrapped any particular window or application in. Somebody wasn't happy. Whether it was skeuomorphic leather or skeuomorphic chrome or whatever, there was always somebody that said, no, I hate that. So, it's a no-win situation. But Jeff, you bring up something interesting that I confess I had not thought about. And that is that the iPad is lighting things from the bottom up, as opposed to the Wacom One or most other tablets that aren't screens. They're just flat, dark, or light surfaces. So that changes my thinking a little bit. I can't believe I really didn't think about it. But again, I'm not an Apple Pencil user. But yeah, that would mean that even unless I have some really seriously harsh whites, I'm probably not going to see a shadow, even if it's being cast by the Apple Pencil, because of that underneath lighting.
Mm-hmm. I want to point out that Marty and I are totally on the same wavelength tonight, for good or ill. And in many ways, you're acting as my spokesperson, because there have been a couple things that you've said already where I was thinking, oh, I'm going to wait for a break and then say that. The most recent, the skeuomorphic comment. So high five.
Thanks.
I know it's either a compliment or a warning that you might need help
or destiny.
Sure. Yeah, Marty, you're my density.
Destiny, not density.
Jeez. Well, before we leave this topic, I'm going to make Brian tell us what he put in our private chat, because I just can't believe he said it.
I said if the shadow isn't seen, it's probably going to be another 2 more years before we get new iPad updates.
Yeah.
Everybody. Yeah. And Guy, you too, you're no better.
No better.
Your comment was,
that the shadow is Lamont Cranston.
Yeah.
It's the comic book geek in me.
You are on a roll tonight, Guy.
We are. Or should be rolled over.
Yeah, he has a red cover on his mic, and he's loose. Well, let's swing to something that is a whole lot more recent as we record this, and really rather interesting. The dust up between Scarlett Johansson and OpenAI about using her voice, not using her voice, trying to hire someone that sounded like her for their voice assistant, or what they're developing as a voice assistant, and what would appear to be OpenAI's questionably healthy obsession with the movie Her and Scarlett Johansson. First of all, has anybody seen Her?
I haven't seen it.
No.
Okay.
So we just have questionable interest in Scarlett Johansson. Obviously, the movie's not part of the discussion.
Well, is the premise of the movie is that the male lead falls in love with this this AI that is voiced by Scarlett Johansson, and you can imagine how many ways that goes wrong. But the whole idea is that it's this human AI interaction that becomes more than just the interaction we all have with Siri. And again, it's I don't know. I'm not here to judge the movie, but I am questioning why someone fell so much in love with Scarlett Johansson's voice for this. I guess it's her portrayal, because there was the reports are that OpenAI even approached Scarlett herself to license her voice twice. Okay, I didn't know that, Jeff. Twice to license her voice. She turned them down both times. And then they pop up with something that sounds very much like her, and for privacy reasons, they aren't or won't identify the actor, or the female actress, whatever the proper thing is now.
Actress.
Actress. Oh, actor. So there seems to be a question in at least Scarlett's mind as to whether this is a version of her.
There were plenty of people. Oh, absolutely. They absolutely intended to make this sound like Scarlett Johansson, and people were commenting like right away how it sounded like Scarlett Johansson, and to me, this is just a very public example of how OpenAI has no concerns about what they're taking and from where and how they're using it. And without soapboxing too much, look, if your business model is predicated on needing to steal from other people for you to make money, you have a bad business model.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Brian?
Do you think that they would ever use either your or my voice or likeness, Jeff?
Well, yours maybe, but I mean, look at me.
Yeah, but it's your voice, Jeff. It's not your that we're talking about.
That's interesting. I wonder if you asked OpenAI or ChatGPT to record an audio sentence with my voice, if it would be able to do that.
I would think you could train it enough. I've threatened my wife to train OpenAI with my voice so I can leave her or voice messages from the grave. Because you can get it to well enough. So if we can do Scarlett Johansson, you can probably do me just by training it enough.
Well, and there's certainly enough content, recorded content for both of us out there to do that. I mean, you could even have my voice giving your wife a hard time after you're gone.
Oh, I'd pay for that.
Or just
See?
do it now.
Now here's a marketing opportunity.
Why
Exactly to what use do you wish to put it, Webb? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I just something to bother my wife with would be just enjoyable. So,
Webb, if you have several things that you want said to your wife in my voice, just send me the script.
The script, yeah.
And I'll record it and send the stuff back to you.
Well, we start with, I'll be down in a minute, so, which never works. So.
No
Marty,
problem.
Marty, do you
Wait,
do marriage
actually,
counseling?
I'll do it for you right now. Everyone be quiet.
I'm sorry I took this off the rails.
I'll be down in a minute.
Anything
What's
else
that,
from
honey?
the web?
Okay, I heard you.
That's enough. That's enough. Please.
I'm surprised you let him go that long, Webb.
Okay, one more. I'm sorry. I love you.
He wanted something more realistic.
It's a family show.
Oh my. So first of all, somebody's going to say, why are we discussing this? Because this really is not, Mac, Apple, iOS, anything. This is coming, and these are issues. Cletus was the one that brought it up as we were having this discussion, that he thought that the results of the writer's strike were supposed to help protect actors and actresses from this. And yeah, and Ben pointed out, who's not here tonight because of the storms, that OpenAI wasn't party to the AMPTP. So, what do you do with stuff like this? And let's face it, how there have been so many articles out there right now about how good some of the voices are becoming now. And especially everybody on this podcast, there's plenty of audio out there for someone to train something on any of us. How do we stop it?
The train's already left the station. I've got Mr. T giving me directions in my car. There are all of these simulated celebrity voices are out there, and people are using them. I've got a soundboard of Arnold Schwarzenegger from Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. I mean, it's there, it's present. The outrage that she has, I can acknowledge. I think she got the bad end of the stick on this one, and she has a right to pursue what action she's doing, but it's already out there.
Well, it is, and like Mr. T giving you directions. I mean, I'm not sure unless you went and really geeked it up a bit. That's something I think that he licensed out, just like there have been several of those that licensed out for Waze.
Yeah,
but now
Samuel L. Jackson
was one.
Yeah.
I know there was at least one or two others. Dennis, I can't think of Dennis's name.
Dennis Rodman?
No.
Dennis Leary.
Dennis Leary, thank you. Yes, I think he did as well. So those are the ones that come to mind. But now you're going to be able to have them. You could have, in theory, Samuel L. Jackson reading, the sports scores tonight, if you really wanted it. So,
but is it the deception that's the problem? I mean, if they did the contracts all up and up to allow them to use their voice, but is the company or OpenAI or whoever's doing this, are they selling it as Scarlett Johansson's voice, or are they just selling it as a voice?
They're selling it as a voice. The voice they named Sky.
Yeah.
And I think that if Scarlett Johansson decided that she wanted to pursue some sort of civil action, that she would not have that difficult of a time showing that that OpenAI was essentially stealing her voice or her likeness. And even the name Sky, I could see someone arguing, hey, Sky is pretty close to Scarlett. And it's obvious that what they're trying to do here is to mimic her voice and to do that without her express consent.
I thought she had already hired a lawyer.
Oh, well, there
Oh,
you
she
go.
had one to begin with. So.
Oh yeah.
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 Yeah, but I thought I read that she specifically hired somebody on this matter.
I think she did. I don't know if there have been any actions filed yet.
Probably not, but it
I
was
bet
like
it's coming soon.
I'm intending. That was what I saw was, I will be suing you.
The thing about suing, though, and Webb, jump in with me on this if you can. But the thing about taking this, is this a good test case? Because you can end up setting a precedent that you really don't want to set if it were to go against her. And then if it went against her, again, depending on exactly how it was pled,
Floodgates. Yep.
Then all of a sudden, we now have a precedent that will help us defend going back and sampling everything from Elvis Presley and John Wayne to, William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. And
Margaret
I don't
Hamilton.
think Scarlett Johansson cares about precedents. She's already, like the horses out of the barn is for her personally. How could it get any worse?
She's also in a position where if she does not take action to defend the intellectual property of her likeness and voice, then she's going to lose the ability to protect that in the future.
Probably, yeah. So
well, and everybody else too, for that matter. It's just put it there. I personally, I think it's a. I'm trying to get a really good understanding what the damage is. Yeah, name, image, and likeness, okay, but she's also a public figure, and it's a character that was taken from a movie. So, do the people that made the movie, do they also have a claim too? Is it just Scarlett Johansson alone? The chat AI people have said that it was a coincidence that once they said no, they went somebody that was like that. Didn't mean that they were looking for somebody to impersonate her. Just, I think it's going to be a tough road.
I don't think it'll be as tough as you think. The fact that, number one, they asked her twice ahead of time. I agree with that. That is particularly damning right there. So when you consider that
but now you got to prove that the voice that they did use was actually an impersonation of her. But that's what you have to prove. And that's going to be the tough one.
You can get experts on the field on either side.
Sure you can.
But again, the fact that they asked her twice to use her voice is the part that would just kind of, I think, throw it in her direction almost nearly 100%. The problem...
So would they have gotten in trouble if they'd used any female actress to do that voice?
It could be any, as long as that female actress is being paid to provide her own voice and not an impersonation of somebody else's voice. That's the tricky bit right there. And this is part of what the whole the actors strike was about. Is if you don't fight it now, then they lose complete control over their likeness and everything that made them unique enough to become famous Hollywood actors and actresses. There's actually a this is so super geeky. I almost hesitate to bring it up. There was a comic book called American Flag, where an actor was on a television series and they let him go because calligraphy had gotten to the point where they no longer needed him. And they just used his image and his voice duplicated electronically or digitally. And he no longer had a job, but the TV show that he is the star of continued. And this is kind of where this is going. And somebody mentioned earlier, Arnold Schwarzenegger and some of these, Sylvester Stallone, Humphrey Bogart, all of these people who have made themselves a recognizable name in Hollywood. If they can be duplicated to the point where you can't tell the difference, and some of the deep fake stuff has shown this, where you can't tell the difference between them and this digitally recreated image, then what's the point of even striving to be a Hollywood actor or actress? Because they can just use people that know the people and the names and the faces that everybody already knows and go on and on and on with it.
Webb, you brought up an interesting point. Where's the damage? Okay, so I'm not deadly familiar with Scarlett Johansson's entire career, but I do know her role in the Avengers Marvel universe as Black Widow, and there are countless, well, maybe not countless, but there are a lot of animated films. There are games based on those things. There are all kind of opportunities to take that likeness, take that image, take that, and maybe not pay the actor for her voice. Does that potentially deprive her of work or opportunity to continue to voice that particular character or any character she's played?
And also possibly dilutes her ability to do the work
Her value.
who does want to do.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to bring up, and forgive me because there were so many great points going back and forth. I know even in the chat room, Ben had said that in one of the recent Star Wars series that Darth Vader was completely, digitally recreated.
Well, the voice was digitally recreated. However, James Earl Jones licensed his voice for that.
Right. So, but the other thing that was interesting, someone said here about that this actress trying to impersonate Scarlett. And that brings up, I don't know, all kind of, the first thing I thought about was Marina Sirtis, who played Deanna Troi in Star Trek. And if you have ever heard Marina with her normal accent, she has a British accent, but she adopts a very much more American accent for Star Trek. So which is her real voice, and how would that be? Is she imitating somebody? Or can somebody imitate her as Deanna Troi, or can they imitate her as Marina Sirtis? Are both of those protected? This gets really, really weird very quickly.
Yeah. That's why we have courts. There's been some weird cases around music composition and whether somebody is, look at that quick case with Pharrell Williams and Marvin Gaye's estate.
Blurred Lines, was that the song? So
I think so, yeah.
That's
interesting. Guy, you're muted. I see your mouth moving.
He had to mute because he's using Scarlett Johansson's voice.
I shouldn't be muted. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
I was just saying, George Harrison and I think the Shirelles with My Sweet Lord and He's So Fine. And, you can find examples of that music all over the place. Even Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin is said
there was a case with that.
Yeah. To be a copy of somebody else's song that they toured with before they got really big.
Yeah. And, Jim, that's interesting that you bring that up, because that's a real good point, that all has to do with audio representations of some kind. So,
well, ultimately, this is why we have a legal system. Somebody's got to be the arbiter when we can't agree. And if you look at those cases are controversial. People will say, hey, court got this case or that case wrong. But, We don't want to rely on gunplay or on who has the deepest pockets. Although the legal system is somewhat a deepest pocket situation.
Yeah. Ben in the chat room says an actor is their own intellectual property. It's a very interesting statement, Ben. So if anybody's out there trying to imitate my voice or anybody on the MacVoices Live panel, you're going to have to answer to us. Why you would want to, I don't know, but
you'll be hearing from Webb's lawyer.
Who charges
I
by
already
the
talked
minute.
to him tonight. I don't want to call him back.
Okay.
And I think for people in this group, the scarier thing is that people are going to start using this technology to trick their friends and loved ones and, run various scams.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
already happening.
Right. But
Yeah.
it's going to happen more.
Like, it's why when when I answer the phone, I don't say hello. I don't say yes. I don't say no. I don't say any of the common phrases that somebody could reuse to imitate my voice in such a way that could fool someone.
Instead, you go on a podcast.
Yeah.
Because nobody could train it based on the things Guy says here.
Oh.
So visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.